Good morning and welcome to the December 19th, 2023 regular meeting of the Town of Bethlehem Industrial Development Agency. My name is Victoria Storrs. I'm the chair. We have members, some of our regular contractors, town supervisor, and then some guests will be joining us to talk about specific resolutions. So what I would like to do to establish a quorum and introduce the folks up at the table is just go around to my left and ask the members and other people to introduce themselves.
Chris Welch, member. David Cadera, board member.
Joe Scott, special counsel. Victor Franco, board member.
John Taylor, senior economic developer.
I'm David Van Leuven, I'm the town supervisor.
Al Michaels, CFO.
Kate Hedgeman, Executive Director and Agency Counsel.
Richard Cotlow, board member.
We have 5 out of 7 board members here with us this morning, and that constitutes a quorum. So I call this meeting to order at 8:03 a.m. Our first order of business is the approval of the minutes. What we're going to do this morning is walk through some ordinary IDA business, and then we will have items up for a vote related to the extension of financial assistance to GB2 New York, which generally, in spite of being outdated, is known as PSEG. And we also have some ministerial resolutions to approve a renewed agreement with our executive director and council and a renewed agreement with the town of Bethlehem, both of which we discussed the costs of in the budget. And then we're going to talk about our insurance options. So starting with the approval of the minutes, are there any questions, comments, or updates? I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes from November 14th.
So moved.
Thank you, Dick.
Second.
All in favor of approving the minutes? Any abstaining or not approving? All right, the minutes are approved. Thank you. The next item of business is our monthly financial report.
Okay, you have in your packet the financial statements as of November 30, 2023. Our statement of net assets, our total checking and savings account balance is $1,618,849.96. Other current assets include a fee receivable of $27,021.97. It's a prepaid expenses of $279.60, giving us total other current assets of $27,301.57. Total current assets and total assets of $1,646,151.53. Liabilities and equity, we have $33,209.15. That represents the prior month's charges for our council and the last 6 months of the year payment to the town, which that check is going out in the mail to pay that off in December. And we have total liabilities of $33,209.15, giving us net assets or equity of $1,612,942.38. We go to our revenue and expenses. Fee income year to date is $472,088.10. Expense side, contractual expenses, $131,931.35, giving us ordinary income of $340,156.75. And we had back interest income of $22,417.36. We have net income year to date of $362,574.11. When we compare actual to budget to see how that happened, we see that our fee income is $192,000 and change over what we budgeted. That predominantly has to do with the plug project in Vista. And our PSEG reimbursement is $48,546.41 above what we budgeted, and that has to do with their output. On the expense side, contractual expenses, we're still running a little bit under budget for contractual expenses, $14,826.99. I'll catch up a little bit. We had a couple checks come in December or November, or December, I guess, for fees. And of course, we haven't spent any of the money in the business and economic development line. We carried that over. Our interest income is also $22,000 higher than we expected, so that gives us our variance. Are there any questions on the financials?
Okay.
All right. So we'll move on to the next order of business, which are updates from John. And before we do that, I want to note for the record that a sixth member, Ted Barbieri, has arrived.
All right, just a couple things to update on. So we did receive several responses to the RFP, which is a good thing, good situation to be in. So staff is in the process of reviewing those applications. We would look to set up some interviews early in the new year with some of those applicants, with the idea being to put together a summary of recommendations, bring that to you at the January board meeting for a full discussion, and hopefully be able to move forward on that project. So so that is moving right along. A couple other updates just on the town side of things. Just thought I'd give an update on the micro enterprise grant program. For those of you who aren't aware, this is a grant program that the town manages for businesses with 5 or fewer employees. So kind of all the way on the other side of some of the projects that we do, but I think it's a really important program at the town. We just awarded our grant round for that. So we've got years now, awarded 11 businesses grants of up to $35,000, and that helps with acquiring new equipment, really helps them grow their business, right? So just wanted to kind of note that it's kind of the end of this current round. We'll look to apply again next year. But over the 4 rounds that we've managed, that program was awarded almost $700,000 in funds to 30 businesses across town. So again, kind of on the other end of what we do at the IDA, but definitely an important program in town. And then just one other thing, I'm sure you've been seeing some of the updates. As you know, the town's going through its zoning update currently, and I'd say right now is really we're really in the thick of things in terms of proposing the actual changes to the code, right? That's really the part of the process we're in now. We've just started going through some of the residential districts, and now we're really moving into more of the commercial districts. So I am very much engaged on that side of things, looking at hamlet zoning or general commercial zoning, and really looking to allow some more flexibility, some additional uses, in some places some greater density. I don't suspect once we get to the industrial zoning that there's going to be too much of a change there, but it'll be a good time for us to be looking at that as we do the industrial site assessment too. So those will kind of feed into our work there as well. So I'm happy to answer any questions, but just a quick update.
Thank you. Sorry, did I accidentally talk over someone? All right. Well, thank you for the update, John. That moves us into new business this morning. And the first order of business is the resolution approving amendments to GB2. Kate and Joe, would you lead us through this, please?
Sure, I'll start. Thank you, Chair. So if you go to the resolution that's included in your package, I think where I would like to start is the letter that attached as Exhibit A, and you'll recall this was presented to the board at the last meeting in concept in terms of what's being proposed and requested by, and I'll use the term PSIG because it's easier than the current name, with apologies to council, to the applicant who's attending, and also available obviously for questions as we move forward. The whole idea here is to maintain the status quo for a period of time. You've seen the amended documents, which provide for amendments to 2 operative documents, one the lease agreement and the second the pilot agreement. The amendment to the lease agreement is to move out the expiration term, to provide for this static period. And then the amendment contained in the pilot agreement, the substantive piece of the amendment, pilot agreement is to extend the table during that extended period. It mirrors the terms of the letter that's attached to the resolution. The resolution itself authorizes the chair to execute and deliver the documents. There are some findings in section 1, among them being that because there's no new financial assistance being extended or granted, there's no need for a public hearing. We have additional findings in there about seeker. This is no new project here, so there's no seeker issues. And then the balance of the resolution, sections 2 through 5, authorize, as I indicated earlier, authorize the execution and delivery of the documents. With respect to protections of the IDA, the existing documents are continue with respect to that in terms of insurance, indemnification, hold harmless. So there's no changes there. And again, the whole goal here is to, as I said at the onset, maintain the status quo during this extended period, if you will, and provide the project applicant with time to complete the application for the new project. And at that time, the IDA will take further consideration. There's no commitment on the part of the IDA with respect to the new project in this resolution. All that will be addressed at the starting point and as typical with your operating procedures when we receive the application. With that, I'll pass it back to you, Chair, for any comments or questions.
I don't have any questions at this time, but certainly I want to make sure the members have any questions answered and any comment.
I just have one question. Right now, the agreement would expire in 2024 or the early 2025. Is that the
No, it
It's the end
expires.
of this year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
end of this year? But it carries through. The resolution will carry through the next tax assessment.
Right.
Is there? And it's all. I guess it's contingent on SEG getting their new plans in order to be able to present it to us in 2024. Correct.
No, there's no condition. This is, the extension is to provide them the time.
Right, okay, right.
But there's an end date in the extension. So if they don't, it's a year, 2 years, provide for the status quo while they're preparing the application. If they don't get us an application, then the pilot expires at that time.
Okay.
But there's no condition with respect to the.
I guess my question would be that I didn't see a provision in here that the extension could be extended another year if something untoward comes up that, are we prevented from doing that?
We are not prevented from it. We could, you are certainly within your powers and authorization to consider an additional extension request, absolutely.
In the history of my time on board is projects never hit the deadline. Yeah, we always get extensions or something.
But I'm here now.
I forgot, yeah.
The last project that you did was particularly problematic.
Right.
But I don't expect that to occur here.
So you don't expect us to be sitting at this table next year having
I do
to go over this.
The combination of the sophistication, at the risk of being patronizing, the combination of the sophistication of the applicant and their consultants, including their counsel, I don't expect that to happen.
Where does it say the 1 year? I'm just looking for like the end of 2024. But it may
Well,
say-
no, it's, so
How is it phrased?
property taxes run, right, January through the end of the year.
Yeah,
So that's 24, but as you know, the school taxes.
yeah.
We have to go into 25
Yeah.
because, so it's actually not a 1-year extension. It's running through that school tax period into 2025.
Sure.
Right, so if you flip to the lease agreement.
Okay, it's in the lease.
It's, the date there is December, it's section 4. Cool. Printed page 6 at the bottom of the amended lease.
Great.
And it's section 4A, which has the December 31, 2025.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Maybe we remind the board that we did send letters about this to the affected taxing jurisdictions. And in fact, there's, a representative from the school district at the ending this meeting. And obviously, when we consider the new project, we'll send out notices and we'll hold a public hearing. There'll be extensive outreach.
Thank you. If I could add one thing too, Joe Scott mentioned, the sophistication of the applicant. It's also, I've been accounting for this project in my role for the last decade, we're an outstanding project in terms of compliance with any request we have. The turnabout is immediate. We never have to reach out to get our information. It's right there, and that helps. There's not all the projects do that.
Thank you, Al. I would add just one thing, which is a major reason that this project owner has come to us for that extension is that they are in fact in the process of planning tens of $millions in capital spending within the next few years, and that we would expect not only to preserve the existing jobs at the facility, but given their history of using local contractors, there are significant economic effects positive within the town. And when we do receive the application for long-term continued assistance, we will be going through that very thoroughly and understanding the effects within the town.
And a final note too, in that the amount of the extension is more than we would get if it was on the tax roll as well. So there's no loss to net tax revenue.
At current assessments.
Right.
Mhm.
Right. Good.
Well, we need a formal motion.
I like that.
Yeah, just do it.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any abstaining or opposed? Great, thank you. The resolution passes with all 6 members present voting in favor. Thank you. Our next item of business is the agreement for the services of our executive director. And because of the nature of legal practice, we have one agreement for that. And then there is also a retainer that Kate is required to use with her clients as an attorney. So those are 2 documents. They're in your packet. The changes are to, the changes in the body are to update it to this year. Is that right, Kate?
Mhm.
Otherwise, they're very, almost exactly the same as the documents from last year. When we adopted the 2024 budget, we agreed that for her services, it would be a $70,000 flat fee. So you will see that in the agreements. And that is really the only change. So what I'm asking for this morning is, I'll get to you in a minute, is your approval for me to sign the documents and engage in the contracts. The budget is already approved. Yes.
It's not a flat fee, it's upset. Kate sends us bills on a monthly basis detailing her time spent, the hourly. So it's not really a flat fee, it's an upset fee.
We did agree to do it as a flat fee at the finance committee. Kate will be sending us bills. She will always continue to be transparent about her time.
Technically, yes. You're all going to get the same bill with the same hours at the same rate, but it's a flat fee that's billed in equal monthly installments instead of in response to the bill.
Okay, I know, I'm sorry, I just didn't remember that.
That's okay. It's in the retainer, the way it's drafted. It is there.
Is there anything else that you wanted to?
I have one question. I apologize for being a nerd about this, but Under the future conflicts of interest paragraph, you said that you can represent other clients, including our adversaries. And I didn't know we were this lucky.
Well,
I'm just
generally,
curious who those people are.
right. So generally, in most retainer agreements, there's discussion of conflicts of interest and what happens if there should be one. Regardless of the language that's in here, I would have to come and get a waiver from you first. That's
Oh, I
the proper,
understand that,
yeah,
but
that's the
Can
proper
we just
waiver.
strike the including our adversaries?
Well,
That's
so,
You want-
yeah, so for example, if you had a litigation pending and you were being sued by a plaintiff, if they asked me to do other work, maybe it's a transaction or something that has nothing to do with the lawsuit, that would be permissible for me to represent them with the waiver.
Right, and that's sort of what you're saying. Anyway, without that term, it's that you represent other clients if their interests are not materially adverse to
Right,
us. So
Right, it gives
they don't
the
have to be
attorney,
adversaries, I guess
Right.
is what I'm saying. You got the public come in and hire you to sue us. And I would not want that.
no, that's not what that means at all. It just gives the attorney the discretion with inside our rules to make that determination of whether first it's a real conflict or not, and second, whether we need that waiver from the client. I personally get a waiver for everything, and if the client says no, then I don't take the matter. That's the proper way to do it.
I was just struck by that term. I just not quite sure what you're referring to. I
Well-
understand that you could be working with other clients, but just wasn't sure that we would consider someone an adversary. That's all. They're just another client of yours who don't conflict with us.
Right. Did you want an amendment? Did you
Well,
want?
I'm not gonna hold things up, but I'm saying they just struck the three words, including your adversaries, that's all. I don't ever want us to be viewed as adversarial towards somebody adversarial towards us. They're just a client of yours whose business does not conflict with our business.
Right.
If you want the amendment, can we use town equipment to print a fresh copy, because I was going to execute right after this meeting.
I mean, if it's that, I'm not gonna insist on it. I'm not falling the sword, but I read, I just thought it's an interesting phrase.
The way that I read it, the way that I understand it is someone who's adverse to us in litigation, because that's the way the pipeline works.
No, I understand that.
Yeah.
But they would have to have a conflict
Yeah.
with our, which is already stated in the rest of the sentence.
Yeah, no, right, I see that. We could cross it out and initial it, not have to be something additional.
Right.
But, yeah, I mean, I think I'm comfortable with what Kate said based on, she can't take some, she can't ethically, she's not gonna risk her law license to do something that's adverse
No,
to us.
absolutely.
She can't do that. So I'm fine with it the way it is.
Okay.
It doesn't like, it doesn't bug me because what she.
This is why I did not go to law school.
You didn't get ruined that way.
Victor, is the other board member attorney, do you have anything to add?
I'm not an attorney, but I play one on
Oh, I thought
TV.
you were.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, no, why are you on?
He
the
just
board?
has he has super duper editing skills, which is
Okay,
a
well,
trait.
That's from working for the legislature.
That's right.
I'm executive.
Wow. I'll just assume everyone's in the.
We just call him the editor in chief, and you will be fine.
Yeah. So, I mean, I understand where you're coming from. Taking the personalities and the history out of it, you really don't want to establish any type of precedent or any type of doubt going forward. So, I would kind of lean towards your position to kind of clarify so that there is no ambiguity, so that a common person could read it and not be, doubtful.
I think that.
But I defer to attorneys.
I think that we can strike the language, and if a situation comes up where Kate is requested to represent, she can ask us regardless of what it says.
Right.
So it isn't necessarily a required item.
See, I read this as, and again, I'm ruined as well. It's really disclosing who the conflicting client could be. It could be an adversary, or it could just be a general conflict. Like there's different types of conflicts. So this is more of a disclosure that a conflict may be an adversary, just to let you know. And if you take it out, I mean, it's, it is what it is. I mean, my ethics are going to require me to act a certain way, whether this is in there or not. So,
Okay, it's a public document, and when we talk about it, we have adversaries, even though they're legal adversaries. I don't know if we want to make that.
Well, if we don't, we ought to get some.
Yeah, well, I have no problem having them, but I mean, I just thought who they would be.
Well, perhaps if we put it in there, we'll invite some in. And that'll
Yeah.
be an exciting environment.
I withdraw my concerns.
I would lean toward leaving it alone because I know that Kate's documents follow some fairly standard language that's familiar in the business.
I'm okay with including your adversaries out, because my rules are my rules and I've got to do what I got to do.
No, exactly.
So
And you say-
if you're uncomfortable, let's
And
take
you
it out.
say in the rest of that sentence that you're gonna follow your rules and bring those to our
Yep.
attention, so.
So I'm
They don't-
fine with it. If you want that change, I'm fine with it.
Victor?
Wow, am I? I always lean on the side of clarity and get rid of any ambiguity. So if you think that creates a problem for the public as a public document, then it should be clarified. And going to Dick's point, if for some reason there's a unique need that comes where that language has to be reinserted, then we just vote on an amendment. So,
So I prefer that to take it out.
Okay.
Even if we just scratch it and then.
Yeah, that's fine.
Just that's it and don't bother.
Well, then the resolution before us is to authorize me to execute the contract as amended. Good. We have a motion?
So
Thank you. All in favor of my signing? Aye. Any abstaining or opposed? All right, thank you all. That resolution authorizing me to sign passes. I appreciate it. There will be a ceremony following this meeting. Also, and that incorporates both of these, the retainer and the contract. So the next item of business is also authorizing me to sign a contract, and that's our services agreement with the town of Bethlehem. So David, I'm really glad you're here this morning. During our budget process, we increased the allocation to the town to $45,000 from $40,000 the previous year. That is generally going to pay for a portion of John's salary for the services, the outstanding services that he gives to the IDA throughout the year. And the town ultimately sets those salaries, and we occasionally use services as conference rooms, so the cost of some light bulbs perhaps. And so that's what's in there. The body and terms of the services contract agreement has not changed compared with 2023. And so before I ask for a vote, I want to ask David, do you have any questions about this? You haven't had a chance to talk to the board.
No, I think we have an outstanding partnership. And I'm very pleased at how well you work with John and John works with you, because we're all pulling for the same thing, which is economic growth in town. So I think it's a good relationship and I appreciate it.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments before I invite a motion? All right, I'll entertain a motion to approve me to sign the services contract with the town for the calendar 2024 at the $45,000 amount established in our budget.
So moved.
Thank you.
second.
Thank you. All in favor?
I,
Any abstaining or not approving? Okay, thank you. The motion passes. And that brings us to the final item of business on our agenda this morning. but actually, I expect to sign that agreement immediately after this meeting as well, if you're available.
Sure.
And the final order of business is revisiting the insurance quotes that we received. We had asked for a resubmission of the quotes that we had selected back in November as the ones we were most likely to want to move forward with. We also asked for a quote on cybersecurity, and all of this arrived from the insurance broker Friday afternoon, which has really not given any of us time to think through it, particularly the cybersecurity. And I will say publicly this morning for everyone out there who's listening to the webcast, the IDA takes actions under certain rules largely established by the state. We are also required by the state to post meeting materials at least 72 hours in advance of the public meeting. This is part of the public process. This is our responsibility to the community. And people who work with us regularly, including people in this room, really understand and are very respectful of the deadlines that we therefore have for the submission of materials. And I am grateful for the effort that our regular partners have put in over the years. I am hopeful that other people who we might be seeking services from will be more attuned to these deadlines so that when we do receive material, we actually have time to review it. Otherwise, it delays any action that we might be able to take. And it's really up to the members. What we did receive this morning, Friday, there's two pieces. There isn't the summary that we requested, but there's the same quotes returned for two of the pieces of insurance and then something completely new for cybersecurity. So I'm going to turn this over to Kate. I am concerned about having insurance, the general liability in place as soon as practicable.
So Dick and I talked over the weekend or Friday about this. I think, number one, Dick's going to reach out to Bert Anthony and Associates, and he's going to get some clarification on some issues. The one thought we did have was really, let's look at, do we need cybersecurity? And what is it for necessarily? So I know, Chris, you had brought that up. We currently use the Bellis board, which has their own security in it. I have most of the documents myself in backed up and secure location electronically as well. So I'm just trying to think of a scenario where and how we would be hacked and what, if we really need to do it.
Out of curiosity, do you use cloud storage? I mean,
Yes.
Yeah. I'm cool with that. I'm just curious.
Yeah, I mean, and that when you sign up for, whatever legal platform it is, they require, and they have their own insurance, but they require us, the law firm, to carry the cyber, which I also have.
Yeah.
But as far as the documents, they take up space on the website is always there as well. And then everything is now that we own, every piece of paper is in Bellis board.
Right.
So did you have a particular scenario in mind?
The concern that I have was just if we had a scenario where, we do have confidential information, and if that were exposed, we might be exposed to liability. But I think, it's certainly more important for us to get the general liability
Yeah.
control.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes we get sensitive financial information, maybe from business
Right.
applicants.
Or we try to, at least.
Yeah.
They don't give it to us.
That's a great line. So usually when we do that, I try to keep it in paper form and, use shredders and all of that. But, I think even I have secure email that we could be using to sending this. But for the most part, if we were still on the town's system, it might make sense to cover ransomware or something because even lately, we've got issues with the email even still. So, but I think because now we're off on our own, we may or may not really need that per
And
se.
I think my comment was more just, I didn't see it in the
Okay.
quote, so.
Yep.
Certainly look at it.
All right, so Dick's gonna get, you want,
I do have one item, and other than, working with whoever wants to work and meet with the insurance and really get our handle on what we're insuring and what we're getting. But I have a question that I sent to our insurance agency, and they did respond, but I don't understand the response. And it has to do with, currently, we're a named insured on the town. And I don't understand why we don't continue to be named insured on the town. And quite frankly, he sent me back an answer to my question is it's, I'm just gonna do my way of saying, it's hard, okay? But I don't see, we're gonna buy insurance. We're named on the town's insurance. And, one of the things we're most concerned with, I hope, is that we get first dollar coverage for representation, okay? But if we're on the town and we have more insurance, I think that's good.
but we don't, and this is how it works. So when you have two insurance companies like that, it almost acts like as a reinsurance. And what those companies are gonna do if there's ever a claim, they're gonna get together and they're gonna have to sort out which policy covers what and who defends what and allocate, for that.
I had that quite a few times in my company where we had different insurance companies in different layers. And we had that. But no matter which way it was, we got the total amount of coverage.
Right, but, and I don't want to get into numbers because
Yeah.
math's not my strong point, but if the claim doesn't exceed either one of those policies, they're going to divide what the claim is among those two policies. So you really don't have more insurance. And then there's going to be a question with which one kicks in first. Like it's almost like, I hate to compare it to subrogation, but at the same time, it is. They're going to look at,
So you're saying,
but they're not going to run concurrent coverage.
I understand the current,
Yeah.
but you're saying if we buy 2 million and the town's got 20 million, and we have a loss of 7 million, we're not fully insured.
Well, you also have to remember, and I think the gentleman said it when he was here, is that the town's policy is for everyone.
Well, I
So
understand
the
that.
minute they hit a claim, their insurance coverage decreases by the payout of that claim. And so with our exposure on large projects like the port, possibly Vista, and we're taking leases, we need that kind of coverage to cover those projects. So that's really, it's more about the projects than it is necessarily our general
Well, we understand
liability.
that. But then the question is, how much insurance do we need?
Well, I think the 2 million definitely would be reasonable. And that was on the, well, I'm looking at the directors and officers plus EPLI on that, but, thanks, man. But, I think 2 million is a good place to start. If you weren't doing as many deals as you are now, it probably would be less, but for
2
the,
million covers our assets.
yes.
2 million, I will say from my perspective, as a small business owner who contracts with, communities and sometimes engineering firms to provide consulting services, my major clients require me to have 2 million levels, not 1 million levels. I think it's not uncommon in the industry. The quotes that do make sense, that make the most sense are the ones Kate's referring to. There's the general liability insurance proposal, and then the typeface is small. This was a scanned document for personal business property replacement costs. And if I'm correct, This is why we asked for a summary.
General liability.
General liability, so all in, these are the quotes that we reviewed in November, and we talked about problem of the town's coverage possibly being overstretched. We talked about the fact that, first dollar of legal fees aren't covered as we are, so that's really important, as we've learned. And then our having control, I had to deal with on the personal lines of subrogation, and it took them 9 months. So that was a good bit of money out of pocket for anyone. If you're going through, when insurance companies fight, they do it in slow motion. And that's not something that I want us to be in when we might be asking someone, especially someone like Kate, to defend us in a suit and we can't pay her. I think that would be a very bad situation to be in. So I invite all of the members to revisit the costs, which are the 525, I think it might be 675 to get 2 million for the liability. It's,
Well, I think the question Dick is asking to the rest of the members are what is your thought on keeping the town insurance as well? So that's what his point is.
As a name,
For a specific reason, if there's 2 million, there's 2 million and that's it. They're not getting, we're not going past 7 million. Whoever is suing us is going to know what the insurance coverage is, and they're not gonna, they can't, if there's a claim that accrues past that, we're essentially bankrupt. If there's no blood, you can't get blood from the stone. That's at least how, they can't get anything further, so we protect ourselves, we do our fiduciary duty, we make sure that we have counsel, and, we did what we were supposed to do. I don't think it's a both and sort of thing, I think it's a primary, and that's it.
I was with,
Maybe I'm wrong.
no, I was exactly where you were on Friday,
Yeah.
but I was just concerned about, and I think if we have any individual exposure.
Personal?
Yeah, that's the, you see,
The only
that's why 2 million might not.
case law that I've seen with that is gross negligence of,
Criminal.
of a board.
Yeah, you write a check to yourself for 2 million. That's an intentional act.
Mhm.
That's not protected by, business judgment rule.
Okay, I was more thinking about the pollution on the port, okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's an environmental rider. That's a whole other.
Okay, no, but
Yeah.
if all of a sudden, there was somebody in this room who might have been a named defendant, okay, which was removed, but, I was just thinking, if I was happy with 2 million, so what I wrote, what I said, I was happy with 2 million, but I was just, is 2 million enough? That's fine, then we're really who we want to be. And I just thought being the named beneficiary, if we got more than 2 million, but evidently we're not going to.
Well, the other thing I would just remind you is that any deal that we do, there's indemnification
Mhm.
as well.
In the agreement.
Right. So that is also there, and then technically you would put them on notice of that.
Together with insurance.
Right. And so anything over and above, or if somehow there's, a settlement that we want to contribute to, there's all these different moving parts, their insurance, it kicks in first, or we would tender the defense to them, or our insurance company would go after theirs if there's an issue there. So I think 2 million is probably pretty good for what we would need it for.
The only other thing that I mentioned is, do we want fidelity coverage? Okay, we don't have fidelity coverage. And fidelity, employee theft.
Oh.
And,
I don't know that it covers independent contractors though, and that's what John and I are. That would be a question.
and out,
And out,
and,
yeah.
and me.
we have no employees.
Right,
Okay, I don't know, that's a good question.
right, so we'll find out.
If Fidelity covers board members and other contractual, that's a good point.
We can certainly look into that since you'll be doing more research on the cyber would, given that we're at the end of the year and this is dependent on members, if we can move forward and authorize the basic package following along the discussions that we had with the clean quotes that we asked for, I would be very comfortable taking a vote on moving forward with the pieces that we're comfortable with and then doing more research. We can always add the other pieces if we feel they're important.
I agree.
And
Do you want to go month to month? While we figure, see if there's a monthly. I mean, I'm happy I'm in agreement too.
I would rather authorize it now. Certainly, if we make a change, what we'll be doing is adding. So if we
Right,
thought we
sure.
were going to reduce them, then I think month to month might make more sense.
Can we summarize what we're gonna look at $2 million in liability. We're gonna try to find out what we're insured for if we do cyber.
Mhm.
We're gonna find out what a Fidelity coverage would cover. And we're gonna go with D&O.
That's the one, D&O is the public officials.
Yeah,
Okay,
So-
so looking through the non-summarized quotes, and I don't have my calculator, I think, because I would like us to have a sense of the expenditure.
it's gonna be under 4,000.
Well, if you go up to 2 million on the DNO, it looks like total is around 5,500, but
5,500 for D&O.
that was the first quote.
Yeah, this is why we'd ask for a summary.
Well, this is the insurance industry summary.
It is.
So that's why, I think it's important to get clarification on all these line items, but it's somewhere around 5,500 for the general.
Mhm.
And then you would add cyber and you would add,
No, I don't think I thought it was $2,000 would be the premium for public officials management. And if you wanted to increase, it goes up to that, did I read that wrong? I thought it was $2,000 is what I had in my mind.
it was, but there's optional increased limits, and at $2 million, the additional premium is
I
$1,500.
thought that's an additional $2 million. Well, this is why, this is,
No,
this is why
see, it
Victoria,
says 1 million right there, so that's why. That's why we gotta get clarification. I would table it, but if you're comfortable in just giving discretion to Dick and I to purchase what we need, then that's fine, but
Up to a cap.
Yeah, do you think,
6,000.
yeah, I think if we're at 5,500 and then there's the 705 and whatever the small business coverage, assuming that these aren't competing, let's assign a cap of 10.
okay.
And, we certainly want to hear what's going on, but as soon as it can be acquired, these basics I would like to see in place.
Okay,
And so that would be the resolution, to find out if the members are comfortable authorizing this with a cap of 10 and letting them implement, get back to us on cyber and fidelity. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. We'll say we had a motion and a second.
Yeah, sure. So moved.
So thank you all.
2023.
the meeting dates for next year, I put on the second page. Some are moved around a little bit because of holidays and whatnot, so just draw your attention to that. And of course, hopefully the availability of the room will check.
yeah.
It should be okay.
Very much.
It should be
Yeah.
okay, yeah.
Okay, so that brings us to the end of our agenda for this morning. I will invite, are there any further questions, especially about 2024, or any comments that members would like to share before we close out the meeting?
good year, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Thank you. I think that is something we can all share. I know Georgette isn't here with us this morning, but it's been a real pleasure working with all of you. And it is terrific to have a full board of outstanding members. I would extend thank yous to our contracted staff, to Kate, to Al, and of course Joe as our special counsel. Really grateful for the services.
And John.
And the town, thank you. See, I looked at John and I just didn't say your name. This is why we have Kate. All right. So having no other business, I'm going to announce our next meeting will be Wednesday, January 31, same time, same place. And I'll accept a motion to adjourn. Thank you, Chris, Dave. All in favor? Any opposed or wanting to talk longer? This meeting is adjourned at 9:52 on December 19th.
Cut off yet?
8. Yes, well, you know,
It
we've
was a
had
good
some long
year.
ones. It was.
Oh, we
All right, 8:52. I stand corrected.
I got